It takes a lot to physically repulse me. I have been across every corner of the internet like a Vietnam vet doing his 7th tour. But this, what I'm going to talk about today, is something completely new to me. You could almost say it's a new low. Do you remember years ago when I'd do those series like ex-YouTubers hit a new low and then the algorithm just completely blacklisted it so no one started using it anymore? Now, one thing a lot of YouTubers have is a Patreon, and you can give them a monthly amount of money, and in return you might get a role on a Discord server, or for YouTubers that actually care, you could get access to exclusive videos. OnlyFans, for example, you can pay a monthly fee to get access to a creator's thirst traps. That's if you don't know what piracy is. That was a joke, by the way. That was a joke. But never before have I seen a YouTuber do something so devious. This is on the same level as a red phantom in Dark Souls 3, and that is a YouTuber, Zavgirl, who put photos of an 11-year-old murdered boy behind a paywall. You had to pay money to get access to pictures in a YouTube video that she was talking about.
And think about how it might feel for them after having to see those photos in the courtroom to then have them plastered all over the internet and then be trying to charge people money to view them so you can get rich off of it.
Now, Zavgirl is a crime YouTuber. She's under 100,000 subscribers at the minute, but the articles coming out about her now have basically made her a marked man, or marked woman, I guess. So like I said, Zavgirl is a crime YouTuber, and what crime YouTubers tend to do is talk about crimes. These can be recent ones, but usually they're historical, like for example, stuff going back 10, 20, or even 30 years. But again, I don't think I've ever seen a YouTuber stoop low enough to talk about a real life situation and then put the autopsy photos behind a paywall. It's $3, right? I don't care if it is $1. This is like Logan Paul going into the Japanese forest and then he puts like, oh, you want to see the uncensored version? Yeah, it's on my Patreon. Just give me $20. Now, quick rundown on the whole situation. This was a video that Zavgirl made a video on. In 2011, Gannon Stout, who was 11, was murdered by his stepmother, Letitia. Letitia was found guilty in the Colorado court on May 8th, 2023. Apparently, the judge describing the crime as full of hatred and jealousy, and then shoving the body in a suitcase. She was sentenced to life in prison. So what Zavgirl did about hearing about the case, she reached out to the police to get local records of the autopsy photos, which she then put behind a paywall. Now, I do want to say there is a silver lining to this story. Patreon actually heard about this and they were like, what the fuck are you using our platform for? And they've basically deleted her Patreon entirely. This has now led Zavgirl to do an apology video. I do want to say, thank God, it is not up there with Colleen's apology video. You know, the ukulele girl. It's not that bad, but it's still pretty bad.
Hi, everyone. If you're listening to this, then you likely know about the last few days. I want to apologize to everyone I've hurt, but especially Gannon's family. I've been doing some major soul searching and reflecting. There are many trying to define my motivations, and while I'm not looking for forgiveness or trying to make excuses, I do hope to provide additional context that has not been made clear.
Okay, it seems rough to a good start. There's no deep sigh. I mean, it's very obvious that she's reading a script because her eyes are going down every 2 seconds. But to be fair, given the circumstances and how she needs to actually give a proper response, not something off the cuff, you know, I can kind of sympathize with that, despite putting pictures of a dead kid behind a Patreon paywall.
I have followed the Letitia Stout case closely, and it was actually during the trial that I made the official records request. And it was in El Paso County, Colorado. I requested all the video, audio, and written records. I made no request for autopsy photos. I wanted all trial records, but my main interests were interviews with Letitia. The autopsy photos just happened to be in the files.
Your Honor, my client, the autopsy photos, they were just sent with the public record access. It wasn't their fault that they appeared. And then they mysteriously went behind a $3 paywall as well. Oh my goodness gracious. I get that she's trying to say that she didn't request for the autopsy photos. And to be honest, I 100% believe her. But that was her own choice to then put it behind a paywall.
I spent time reviewing what I received so I could provide more info from the trial. I believe many of my images were already shown during the televised trial, and I saw the photos on other public YouTube channels that live streamed the trial and shared the evidence. I didn't think any of the images were new. These photos were already public, although the video I put together with the coroner's voice was my own creation.
So her cope here is literally, other people did it, so I'm allowed to do it. But again, if they're showing these photos in news reports or other YouTube channels, I don't think they're putting it behind a paywall. Like, you knew that these were photos that no one had access to, but yet you're charging people to see it. So the excuse of, oh, well, other people did it. I don't think like CNN or Fox, when they covered it, were like, pay $3 and you can see pictures of a dead kid.
I chose to put the video on Patreon because of the sensitive nature of the evidence. Putting the evidence behind a paywall meant added security, and I naively thought they wouldn't be made public. The video I created with a voice from the coroner wasn't meant to be shared outside of Patreon. And I chose not to put the photos on YouTube, a public forum, where the views would have allowed me to make more money and the photos would be seen by more people.
This kind of reminds me of those government hearings you have where like people in Congress talk about YouTube and they're just a bunch of boomers that have no idea what they're talking about. You wouldn't have got more money if they were on YouTube because your video would have got the same amount of views. Those pictures, those autopsy pictures, if anything, I haven't seen them personally, but if they're autopsy pictures, they probably would have got your video age restricted. So if anything, you would have gotten less income and less views in the algorithm. And I think it's a bit of a cope to say that you put it behind a paywall for like added security. If you wanted to secure them, you could have put it on a Discord server with an NSFW chat, or you could have put it on a Google Drive file where people have to sign in to request access to it. You had other options without having to make people pay for it. It is really weird that we're more than halfway through the apology video right now, and there isn't actually an apology. It's more like a weird justification for it.
Because the video was placed behind a paywall, rumors about the images not being blurred or being different than what was shown in trial started to surface. No photos shows genitalia. I have made no jokes about the photos. I don't even cuss on my channel, and I would never allow derogatory remarks about a victim.
Okay, boys, case closed. She doesn't swear. She does not cuss on her channel. Thank goodness. The paywall for the dead kid, we'll allow it. We'll allow it because she doesn't cuss. There'd be no heckin' swearing on my channel. It's such a weird, like, non-apology because she's almost trying to, like, detract from the initial accusation. If she just said, like, okay, it was really fucked. You know, in hindsight, I thought it was a good idea, but obviously not. I'm a bit of a piece of shit. I'm sorry. You know, even at this point, I feel like she could say, I'm going to take some time off to grow and change as a person. And I feel even then, that would be a better response to what she's saying right now, because here is the problem, and here is her trying to acknowledge it, just going around it in like this weird circle.
I realized my intentions were not communicated well. My channel style is sort of me hanging out with friends and speaking off the cuff, and I did not articulate my reasons or think my decision through. At this time, my Patreon website has been shut down. I am not sharing any of the photos or video anywhere, although you can see the photos published on other popular channels. Nothing you see is from me, nor will ever be. To those who have supported me and followed my channel, and to the true crime community, I'm sorry I let you down. I cannot imagine the pain Gannon's family has gone through. My anger over what happened to Gannon is the reason I started following the case. I'm not this evil, heartless person like many are saying, but I'm also doing a lot of self-reflecting, and I'm looking into sensitivity training. I did not want to add to the family's loss with anything I said or shared about this case. And it will be a long time before I ever trust myself or my decisions again. To Gannon's family, I have no words that can make this better. No one should have to ever go through what you guys have been through. I am so very sorry for any pain that I have caused you.
So even then, she really does hit you with the, I'm going to take some time off to learn and reflect and get sensitivity training. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's seeing like an animal being hurt and like if you have some kind of emotional response to it. Maybe they might just play Schindler's List, and if she doesn't shed a tear, she failed the test. But yeah, obviously I do want to say that she did apologize to the family at the start and the end of the video. That's great. I do appreciate that. The problem is it's a little bit buried when the beginning and the end of the apology, but then the middle of it is just, okay, I probably shouldn't have done that action. The middle of it is just full of cope, complete cope and like semi-justifications for it. And also that kind of little dig how you can see it on other popular channels, almost making it out there. Why are you targeting me when other people are still doing it and then get away with it? It feels very disingenuous. But yeah, it sucks because the thing is with drama that happens like this with smaller YouTubers, that's all they're going to be known for. Like unless they do a huge bounce back. I mean, another example I can think of was a YouTuber that I did a video on some time ago, Living Bobby, who basically would travel around, you know, the world, living on $5, $10 or like a penny a day. I made a video on him faking one of his videos and like he got shit for that, but he made a bounce back. No one talks about that anymore because, you know, the new wave of summer kids have arrived. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the only way out for her at the minute. I mean, she's apologized, but still not really that much of an apology. That video did not need to be so long. That could have easily been like 2 minutes instead of like 3 minutes of cope. One thing I do want to mention to top off this story, the mainstream media got involved and they actually covered this, which is like pretty surprising because usually stuff like this, it's just Critical who covers it and then I do it a day later, or I cover it first and then Critical steals it a day later. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Very disappointing situation. The thing is, you always think, how can YouTubers stoop even lower? And it gets proven to you time and time again. The thing is, it's only July right now. There is another 5 months we've got until something huge happens.